The Game of Thrones finale finished as more of a fizzle and less of a pop. With the context of the last 5 episodes and where the story is at, this episode was probably the best we could get. This being the finale and knowing there's no expansion to the future, we don't have to worry about any consequences after this point, and so resolving all these plotlines to the characters in the moment are really happy and enjoyable and in good positions makes sense for the show. Even if the endpoints of the characters and the way they wrapped up the storyline and the decisions they made at the end would lead to chaos and horrible things happening down the line, we won't have to see that because the show is over. So we begin the episode from the point of view of Tyrion, and we get to reaffirm all the thoughts and feelings we saw in his face during Dany's huge mental breakdown in the previous episode. We get an indication from the way he talks to Jon Snow, saying he doesn't need guards, showing that he's kind of given up on life and he doesn't care about himself at this point, he's just kind of totally done. This sets up nicely so we understand how he's feeling and why he's willing to throw everything away at Dany's feet, just to make the point that he's not angry, he's just disappointed. Though the strongest moment for Tyrion in this episode has to be when he finds Cersei and Jaime in each other's arms buried by bricks. For me, the way he pulled each brick off really slowly, it was arduous, it was very difficult for him to do, and when he uncovered more of the body, he became harder and harder for him to do as emotions overwhelmed him, kind of indicated to me how powerless and weak he was feeling in the situation, how defeated he was, like he couldn't even achieve this small, tiny thing. Just showing us one more time how well Peter Dinklage can act Tyrion, despite everything else happening in the show. So we still stay in the streets of King's Landing with Jon Snow, Davos and the other men, as they also explore the ruins and feel the weight of what Dany's just done. Last episode we saw how mortified Jon Snow was, but he was still in the heat of the moment. He had Lannister guards running at him, he had to keep cutting them down, getting distracted, he didn't have time to let it all sink in, but now he's alone with his thoughts. And then when he meets Grey Worm executing his Lannister guards on their knees, already surrendered with their city in ruins, it gives Jon a manifestation of the motivations and hatred that drove Dany to do what she did. And he sees it's impure, he sees it's unethical, and he can't stop it. Just like he couldn't stop Dany when she was burning the city alive. Now, just in case all that happened in the previous episode wasn't enough, if what Tyrion is going through, what Jon is seeing, what everything is pointing towards didn't indicate enough to you that Dany is not the person she's been for the most of the series, that she has broken into a real tyrant, they double down and give the most tyrannical, authoritarian image ever. Figurative devil wings sprouting in behind her from her dragon, the symbol of her wrath and power. Everything about this scene is so dark and dreary and evil. Dany compares the massacre of King's Landing to liberating it, and then says she wants to do that to the entire world, indicating she wants to literally massacre every city across the world in her quest for global dominance. The rigid lines of Dany's internally loyal Imperial goons, the Unsullied, matched with the screaming and whooping of the Dothraki pouncing behind and cheering at what they had just accomplished, adds this chill to the atmosphere that makes what Dany is saying even more impactful. The way that Jon Snow moves through the Dothraki past the Unsullied up those steps, you can see how tense and brooding he is. He knows how precarious and dangerous the situation is. One wrong step, one wrong move could mean death for him and disaster for the realm. And if all of that piled on top of each other wasn't enough, they have Arya directly confront Jon Snow and say, she's dangerous and she's going to try and kill you. And then, if that was not enough, they give us a scene with Tyrion, a conversation where he lays out all the facts, makes all the arguments, and makes it damn clear to Jon Snow what has to be done. Daenerys has brought so much to the story as a character, through her narrative, the characters around her, but we know from episode 5 she just has to die. There's no acceptable way that her vision can be realized and what she has done to be forgiven. She's not going to back down, she's not going to reverse into the Dany we wish she could be, she has to fall. And it's weird because we did have this conversation already, but between Varys and Tyrion, but we didn't realize the stakes there, we didn't realize who was right, where here, it's so damn clear. So Aegon Targaryen, Jon Snow, the man himself, who tries to stay to his word, who tries to stay to his morality, who cares so deeply about his honor, must break that honor and kill the woman he loves. Jon Snow has always been willing to sacrifice his own life and pride and honor to achieve what is right. He's done it again and again throughout the story, and he ends his story, this whole story, by doing it one last time. And the thing is, the fact that Drogon spared him and that he didn't die in that moment hurts him as well. Jon Snow's had to make those hard choices over and over again, and he understands the pain he causes others doing it, and he's okay to take the consequences. But the consequences keep evading him. Even when the Night's Watch, his own organization, turns against him, calls him a traitor, and faces him with a knife, stabbing him over and over again, he just comes back. And again, he's given a way out by Tyrion. And so we get the meeting that should have happened after Robert's rebellion. Jon's father, Rhaegar, was going to call a great council, denounce his father, revoke him as king, and reorder Westeros for a better, more stable future. But he died on the Trident and the world suffered greatly for it. But now they've finally come full circle, and this great council is given a chance now. And then they go right ahead, okay? And what they think is, it'd be really cool. We make Bran king, no one expected that. That'd be fucking great. And then we make it so that the entire, lineage of kings is now appointed by lords, which means that even more political backstabbing makes sense, and they can nominate themselves, so that's fucking horrible as well. And then, it's gonna, make a whole bunch of internal fighting and wars between lords and stuff, and, a whole bunch of abuse and things, and doesn't break the world at all. It actually makes it even spin faster, because now every single king doesn't have an heir in place, and so there's gonna be a war every single time a king is put into power, because there's absolutely no stable transfer of power whatsoever, which means more deaths and chaos and horrible shit happening. But hey, fuck the North Independent, right? Now, the rest of the episode is this kind of fizzle out, where we get to see characters kind of end off in their places and go this way and that, and kind of resolve their plot lines and give them a bit of, redemption at the end of whatever. They make Bran Kingsguard and send Jon to the wall, and Arya goes west, and Sansa becomes queen, and Sam becomes Grand Maester and skips all those ranks, and basically all the characters get a happy ending, no matter how it really fits into the story. Like, Game of Thrones never has its big, giant finales and seasons on the final episode. They have it the one before. But it doesn't stop season finales from popping as amazing episodes. Look at Cersei's trial where he blew up the Sept, or even Tyrion killing Tywin at the end of season 4. Episode 6 wasn't the reason this season was dragged down. It was a fine finale because they only had a few limited options and they really wanted to push the, horrible Dany narrative. So for me, this really just means that Game of Thrones is never going to be a show where the ending or the conclusion of the narrative was important, but really the journey was the fun part. So now Game of Thrones is a complete package. It's all over. We can look at every character, every storyline, every message, every arc, and see the start to the end of the series and analyze it as a complete thing. We won't have to theorize the end or try to interpret what they're going for, because we should have all the facts now. So I've still got so much more I want to look into the show now and so much more I want to make around videos, but at this moment I just want to say thanks to you all. Every single time I upload a video, I get amazing comments from you guys, whether discussing the content of the video or the episode, or some of you just giving me a bit of a boost, saying that was a great video, McKay, which I really, really appreciate. It's been such an amazing journey to follow the show, and so many of you guys have done it with me, and that just made the experience so much more enjoyable. So thank you.